Hey there, Doug here. So this week's bonus interview is with actress and adult film star Jillian Janson. Jillian talks to us about how she got started in the adult film industry, and in recent years, she's had two roles in, I would say, dark comedy, horror movies. Evil Bong 777, where she had a pretty small role, but in the movie Cynthia, which was pretty cool, I found it, I think, on Amazon Prime. She had more of a role, and she has a pretty killer scene, pun intended. So you can listen to her stories about filming those dark comedy and horror movies, one involving having to play dead for hours, which you'll want to hear what happens at the end. And it's pretty cool. She really wants to get more into acting and do like the crossover from the adult film in order to the feature film roles. And she has quite a passion for it. So all of her links will be in the episode notes where you can find her. And stay tuned after the interview where we introduce you to a podcast run by a couple guys that I think you might want to check out. It's called Funny to Informing. It's funny and they teach you. It's pretty good. So check that out, and those links will be in there as well. But first, adult film star Jillian Janson. She was a lot of fun. Enjoy. Hi, how are you? My name's Doug.
Hi, Doug. I'm wonderful. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Of course. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So, I just saw on Twitter you just got nominated for 3 awards. So congrats.
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited.
That's awesome. So where's your story begin? Where did you grow up?
Oh, well, I was actually, believe it or not, I was still in high school. I was in Minnesota, born and raised. Just kind of, doing my thing, living my life day by day. And then, kind of go back to where it originally kind of like started with, I guess, my work ethic and kind of who, I became, because I started working young at 14. I worked at McDonald's, took a year off or so to get my permit and my license and whatnot. And then I worked at Walgreens as a beauty advisor. And then I decided to become a telemarketer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then from there, I became a waitress. And I was coming home one night and happened to run into an old friend that I met online. And he was hanging out with some buddies of his, and they invited me over. And we got to hanging out, and they told me about this website. And it was webcamming. It's called My Free Cams. So I signed up one day, and I just, was doing my thing, and that's how I kind of, started and came out to California, and I met my agent, and he said, I'll fly you out here. You stay in a model house, and you'll meet a bunch of other girls, and you'll work with, a bunch of companies, major directors and stuff like that. And kind of he gave me an estimate, and this happened while I was still in high school.
Oh, really?
So, so this junior year, I was kind of older than everyone. I was already 18 in May, and school got out that June.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's when the summer that I was waitressing, and that's when a friend told me about this website, and so it was August of, ironically, my anniversary is coming up. It was August 13th of 2013, and school was starting that September, mind you. So I was going to be a senior, and I had gone out to California, kind of did my thing, realized, I loved it, and I wanted to go back and continue. But I also kind of was like, I want to finish school, and so I went back literally the day before school started. I had bought, my school supplies. Like I landed, that day, went to Walmart, and then, woke up the next morning and went to school. So I ended up telling my friend about it, the friend that I confided in, and she ended up telling another friend that she confided in. So it became this whole chain reaction. And so I don't really know how necessarily people found out from actually looking it up or just, by word of mouth or whatever. But eventually everyone knew that I'd, gone to California, that I had done that. And they pretty much were like slut shaming me for it. And it was a bit overwhelming.
I bet.
Yeah. Because it wasn't the first time I was bullied for, I guess, being so open with my sexuality. So I was like, I'm not gonna deal with this. Like, I asked my mom, or it came down to it where I guess I was skipping school or just not going, and I had no drive. I'd rather go to work than go to school. And it came down to my mom was like, well, why don't you do online? With my mom, that suggested me pretty much dropping out of school because she knew I was miserable. So she was like, because I kind of looked at it in a way like, there's other family members of mine that went back to school later on and they're happy and they went and they did what made most sense to them at the time, and this made more sense to me. It made sense that, I can go back to school later on when I'm ready, when I actually know what I want to do, something like that. For now, I've got a sure thing. I'm going to go and do something that I love. I couldn't express myself whatsoever. I was friends with, the people who didn't mind that, but there weren't so many of that, in my town. I lived in a small town. A lot of people came from conservative families that had money. In my opinion, they never really knew what it was like to earn a buck, and it was just in a short amount of time too, so I was like, when I realized just what it would do for my future and realizing I shouldn't worry about what other people were thinking about it, I was like over it. I was like, you know what? My mom's right. I should do what's best for me. And I went through the proper paperwork to drop out. I met with my dean and everything. And they were questioning, of course, kind of like why I'm doing this. And it's like, I love what I'm doing and no one will understand that here.
Yeah.
I love who I am. No one will understand that here. And I noticed it the moment I came out to California for that 2 weeks that I was out there. I realized like it changed my life. And I found people who accepted me, and it was an environment. I put myself out of, a toxic environment into an environment of people who were alike. They were the same, they were even more raunchy than me, and had dirtier minds. And I was like, wow, I belong here. It was the best decision I ever made. I'm so happy. It's so crazy to think that 6 years is coming up already. I'm just so blessed.
Yeah.
So that's my little story.
Yeah. Do you miss the Minnesota winters at all?
No, I don't. It's but I do miss my son because everyone's still there.
Yeah.
I've tried to get everybody up over here to California because ironically my mom is originally from California.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of grew up with her talking about, the sunny, all the beach, just talking about that kind of life. And I always kind of like wanted to go this direction anyway, that it all just made sense. So I was just like, well, it makes sense for me to be out here, but unfortunately, it's not as easy for my family to just uproot their whole life.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm about to go visit them this summer. Take some time off, see the family, and yeah, no, I don't miss the winters, but I do miss the gathers, all the family time and whatnot. But
yeah,
that's why I try to go back when I can. Hence why I'm going this summer. So, But yeah, all the holidays, I always try to make it back for then. But like I said, my mom tries to make it out here too. Because it's funny, although she moved away from it, and now that I'm here, she always wants to come back. Even when it was the coldest here, like for record, for our winter in California, it was like the coldest here. She came to visit and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is amazing. This is just wonderful." She was just like, "Mom, it's so cold." She was like, "No, it's way better than what it was in Minnesota," because the Midwest got their record low too this year. They were like -50s, and that was just.
I know the weather is very crazy right now.
So happy that I'm over here and not there.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
So how did you, so into like the acting part of it, because I know you said you've been doing this coming up on 6 years. Now, how did like the role of being in Evil Bong 777 come up?
It's funny because throughout my career, I've learned more and more about who I am as a person, what I like, and what I have skills for. That it kind of first started with, the modeling, and then it got kind of into more the acting. And, I wanted to be in more roles. And then as soon as I got into more roles, in adult, I was like, wonder if I could do this in mainstream, and kind of like learn how to cross over somehow, because other girls are doing it, and I've been inspired by them. And it actually happened, I think it might have happened because of the first movie I was in, which is actually Cynthia.
Oh, that was your first one. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That gets mistaken sometimes, but Cynthia was the very first movie I was in, and this happened because I was on set for Corpsey, for Girls and Corpses, and I shot for the cover of their magazine with Rise Steele, Jodie Taylor, and Raven. I believe, I forget everybody right now, but we're on the front, we're on the cover, and we're all holding up a flag in like yellow bikinis. It was a great cover. I loved being in the issue and everything, and we became really good friends. The producer, the publisher, Corpsey, and I. And he invited me to a couple funny events, like a freak show. It was awesome. I absolutely loved it. And I was like, I love every crazy thing this guy involves me in. I'm down. Because if people don't understand or know or are familiar with Girls and Corpses magazine, it's pretty much a bunch of girls, hot girls, posing on top of corpses, dead bodies. They're fake, of course. But
that's good.
But it was so hot. I just loved it. It's the, boobs and gory type stuff. It was awesome. I loved it. So I was like, I want to be a part of anything, whatever. Hit me up, call me. And so he did. One day he was like, "Look, Jillian, I've got, this part, I want you to audition for." I didn't really audition. He was just kind of like, here, take the part. But he casted me in it, and they loved me, and I ended up doing the movie. It was amazing. And I think because of that, people kind of, it got kind of word out there that I was into doing, just ridiculous, kind of unrealistic things. And I'm all for it. So the Evil Bong 777, when they approached me, Charles Band, he was like, he was so funny about the idea. He was, you got this 7-foot Elvis puppet, and you're pretty much gonna fuck it. I'm like, what? Okay. I'm like, how is that gonna happen? Like, wait, what? And then it was so hysterical. It was so, the way they were maneuvering this giant puppet.
It was very creepy looking.
It was, yes. And if you, the set is big, I was on a big bed, so I'm like this tiny little thing, and I'm like sunken in, and like this Elvis puppet is like on top of me, like jabbing his knee into my vagina as I'm grinding on him. And I'm just like, yeah. Yeah, you feel this pussy on your knee, Elvis. I was just taking it to a whole another level. And I think, a lot of it was just, very entertaining to me. I loved it. It was just something that it's not out of the ordinary that happens every day. So
yeah. And the way it ended, it was like one of those like Cirque du Soleil, like Vegas shows where they're like, it was like Silly String coming out, like spraying it on the audience.
It's so funny because when they were explaining it, because obviously when we do certain shots, and they pretty much like did the whole audience reaction when we weren't even there at all.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
So they're reacting to like, they don't even know what they're reacting to, which is the funniest part. So I'm just like, oh my God, this is so good. So when it was all pieced together, it was just hysterical. I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, oh my gosh,
well,
this is perfect. I hope people put me in. So yeah, I love comedy. I've always been a big fan of that. I'm into scary. I'm into pretty much anything, just depends on what mood I guess I'm in.
Yeah. So back to Cynthia, because I thought because they came out in the same year, but the way it's on your IMDb, which is never right. So that movie was pretty, I just like skipped forward to your scene, but I'm definitely going to watch the whole movie because it looks pretty good, but it was super like intense. Like
it was.
The giant cyst, like you bring it down to the lab and then you watch a lot of horror movies, I'm sure. And it's always like that guy was like kind of like being like a little creepy. So you thought maybe like you were going to leave and then the thing was going to eat him like right away. But no, that was pretty wild. The guy gets impaled, the blood gets sprayed all over you. And then
how was like for my life?
You had that moment you were incredible. By the door and you weren't able to grab the key card. And
that door moment I knew would be my key moment. But the whole scenario, the whole production behind it was incredible because and it's hard for me now kind of when I watch movies because I kind of like, oh, I know how they did that.
Yeah.
But so kind of, pick apart movies, feeling like I know exactly how they did it, but it's fun. It's fun knowing like the whole production, how they put everything together. So, yeah, so anyway, so we were doing those pieces and stuff, and I was like covered in blood, and it was great because like when I explained kind of the whole process of like what I was going through during the, because it's a lot different than an adult set. Yes, you've got people. You've got a lot of people on set, while you're doing your thing. But this set, you've got way more people. We had at least like 20 people walking the set. And I was covered in blood. And I just remember laying on the floor, and I'm like, getting covered from head to toe. And I have to lay there completely still, mind you, not to, I'm dead, not to give any like pieces away, but I'm laying there and I have to like be completely still. I can't like breathe. I can't like nothing. I'm laying face up. It's a lot easier to pretend you're dead when you're face down. So I'm just like laying there and they're like, action. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know what part they're actioning on. Are they actioning on my face, on a wide of the scene?
Oh yeah.
Are they on the person coming in through the door? So I'm sitting here holding my breath, like I'm turning purple almost at this point, like trying to make it breathe where, you know, my whole frame doesn't move. And I don't know if the camera's on me. So I'm covered in fake blood, and there's people walking by me, and people don't like realize when you're just wet in general, and then you're now like I'm sticky at this point. And the wind, like every time someone walks by, just like one, you know, pair of feet is just like 20 miles per hour of wind. And so people are walking by, you know, and because they're supposed to be in the scene, they're like walking up to me, checking out the scene, you know, saying their part. And I'm just like, okay, are they panning back and forth? Are they just on him the whole time? And again, I'm sitting here just like, I can't breathe. I'm cold. Like, I'm like shivering. Like I like opened up my eyes a little bit. Okay, the camera's not on me. Big breath. Okay, cut. Like I feel like I just had a whole like orgasm or something. Just like I'm out of breath. And now I'm stuck to the floor.
Oh my God.
I was laying there long enough to be stuck to the floor. So like the blood was in my hair, and it was all tangled up. Huge rat's nest, just like stuck to this floor. and I'm trying to get up, and it's just so hilarious. And the only way to get this blood off of me, mind you, we're in an old abandoned rundown hospital that like hasn't been used in years. I don't know how they had even electricity, but they had no showers, nowhere that I could go clean myself. So I'm like, okay, I'm running. Now I'm like, okay, I get off the floor. They put this robe on me, and it was just, you know, one of those like fluffy fleece type robes. It should have been a silk one, because now I'm running from this hospital, you know, across this, you know, little dry parking lot to the trailers, the movie trailers. And now I can't get this robe off because it's stuck to my skin.
What was it?
From
Corn
this
syrup?
fake blood. Huh?
What was it? Corn syrup? Did they tell you what was it?
Yeah, it pretty much.
Yeah.
So there's a couple ways to make fake blood, and I'm pretty sure it was that way. So because it was just so sticky, you literally could touch me, and you had to literally like just peel your hand away just to get it off. So mind you, now this robe is stuck to me, and now I've got all these little fuzzies. So now I look like, I don't even know what you think I look like at this point. Like, I look like a chicken with its head and skin cut off, like running around wondering, like, how am I going to get clean? Like, it was just so intense because, like, I'm in this bathroom now with this tiny little sink, like RV trailer, you know, trying to, like, wash my hair. Nothing's coming out. And so the makeup artist, you know, they come to get me, and they're like, "Are you having any luck?" And I was just like, "No." And so they bring me back inside to the hospital area where they'd, you know, done my makeup earlier, and they grabbed a bucket. They tried to make it hot, but they grabbed a bucket and put water in it. And they had like paper towels and washcloths and all that, and they tried to like rub it off of me, and it still wasn't coming off. So someone just came out of nowhere with Barbasol shaving cream. I was like, rub this all over your body. They just like, I've got like 3-4 people just like giving me a shaving cream bath and just like rubbing it all over me. Like, I'm pretty sure we got some BTS of this. I'm sure it's somewhere out there. But I'm just standing there, just like head down, like just shaking, just laughing, like, what the heck is going on? Like, finally, after like an hour or two of like rubbing, like just dipping my hair in this bucket, it's now like full of like, it's just red and white, just like full of just ridiculous. I just, I couldn't believe it. I was like so happy that I was clean. I was like, I'm so happy I went through that experience, you know, because like I've been through some things like in porn, you know, like for instance, I had this blow bang, and it's so much fun when you're going through it, but you don't realize like afterwards, like the cleanup process. We had like bananas and whipped cream, and it was like all in our hair and in our buttholes, and it was all over the place. And I was like, that's exactly how I felt with this blood. So it doesn't matter what it is, what part of the industry you're in. Sometimes you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Which one was easier to get off? The blood?
Oh, definitely the whipped cream and the bananas.
Okay.
Because I actually had a shower at the location there, so I was able to shower it all off. But
well, that's good.
It's all fun for me. I love it. You can put me in anything and anywhere, and I'll enjoy it.
How long were you on shoot for that movie for Cynthia?
We shot for 2 weeks.
Cool.
I believe nonstop. I was on set for about 2 days. I believe they only needed me about 2 days. We got a lot of stuff done in that 2 days. And then it took about like a year for it to come out. So I anticipated a while for it, but I was like so happy. It pieced together so well, and I took my friends to the premiere. And
oh, that's awesome.
And they were just like, they were just blown away, because there were some pieces in it that, you know, I'm not going to give away, but some people will notice instantly, because we had to do some things for effect, you know, in order for the creature to, you know, fully evolve, I suppose. But no, it was awesome, because they got me in, they fitted me for like this cast type thing, and they molded me, and they painted me up and everything. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about, you'll notice it during. But my
awesome.
best friend didn't even notice, and he's usually naked all the time. So
So how would you go about? So I know somebody reached out to you for this movie and for Evil Bong. So how would you? Because it seems like you enjoyed it. Is there a way for you to like go out and go on auditions? Is that something you'd look to do for in the future?
Yeah. It's, you know what, for me, it's a little different to do auditions. You know, I'm kind of like, you know, if you want to cast me for the part, you know, you already know I'm perfect for it or not. And that was kind of the case, you know, for Cynthia. They knew what they wanted, and they knew what they would get out of me. There was another instance where someone, you know, wanted me for their role, and I just got to the point where, like, if you don't know who I am and how well of an actress I am or I can be, for some reason I didn't necessarily give them the time of day, for the fact that I didn't really think it was something legit either, because unfortunately I do have to weed out a lot of emails that, you know, are, you know, just, you know, people wanting to, you know, have me in there. It's more personal than it is professional.
Oh, of course.
So
I'm sure you get a lot of that on social media and stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there.
So, fortunately, yeah, I've gotten that, but unfortunately, I've gotten the same thing from the same person that it kind of looks like a scam. So I don't bother with it unless the people come to me and I know you've been in the industry, or I know you're part of mainstream, or I know this or that. Or my publicist, for instance, Tanya, amazing. She helps me with that kind of stuff. She'll let me know if it's legit or not, or if I need to even put my time or my effort towards it. And she's been through a lot. She knows what's real, and I tend to look at her when it comes to stuff like that. So people don't come out to me with it and like, hey, I got this perfect part. You don't even have to audition. You just show up. Boom. All right, I'm in. But there are times too, I put that aside, and I did audition for one thing, and that was like, and the one time I did audition, I got put down in a way that like, I put all my effort towards it, and I got turned away, and it wasn't necessarily that. It's just at that time being, they were looking for something else.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, cool. I'm down, but I'm down for anything. I'm someone who, a lot of people will complain about doing the crazy things, having to hike in the middle of nowhere for a great shot. Like, I don't. I like that kind of stuff. Like, I'll explain the whole process of like how I felt, afterwards. And, the cleanup process may have been quite a process, but the whole experience, like I wouldn't have had that process if it wasn't for the experience, and I love talking about everything from the beginning to the end, the ups and the downs, so people realize that, the reality of shooting, and, that it's not all, when people see, when people want to get into the porn industry, they don't realize how much work it really is. It's not, just about, like how hard you are and how, long you can last. It's not all about that. Yeah. Main, key things, but, it's like, can you get hard in the middle of, the desert in the middle of the night, even though it's supposed to be hot, it's freezing cold. Like, can you do that? It's like all these different circumstances and that play into, how to become a performer like the ones that you see today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for taking the time. I got two more questions, and this is one I've always wanted to know. So when you're out in public, I'm sure you get recognized by people. So do you ever notice like people like looking at you, but not wanting their significant other to like know that they know you?
I feel like it happens more, than it does. But I feel like, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I get complimented enough for just my natural appearance for being attractive, I guess, that people are just looking anyway.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's that. But there was one time where I happened to be in an Uber, and I was in another, it was someone else's account, like all that. And I got in the car with them. We were hanging out, and then we were just like having a good conversation like the whole time. It had nothing to do with, like sometimes I kind of like, I'm like, okay, should I say what I do for a living? Should I just say I'm a model? Should I just say, like I'm an actress or a dancer? Or should I actually tell them I'm a porn star? But it's a little different sometimes when you're, being transferred from one location to the next, and you don't know if that person's gonna, follow you. But I was kind of like, when I found out that he knew who I was and he told me after the fact, I was like, oh boy. So I was in the car and we were talking, and it was just, and that's just a typical conversation. And then as I was opening the door to get out of the car, he was like, "You're Jillian Janson, right?" I'm like, how did you know? Like, what? Like, how? I didn't understand. Like, they just knew the whole time and they didn't tell me. And like, for some reason that made me like, not necessarily weirded out, but I would have felt better for some reason if I would have known that they knew who I was. Cause then I could have been openly talking about it. Like, yeah, I'm Jillian Janson, you know, like I just kind of was like, okay, so what do I have to do now? But there's sometimes where I'm nervous about it, you know, cause I hear things all the time, you know. It's hard because stars, like, personal information is, you know, out there, but, you know, we just, you know, like my name is Jillian Janson for a reason, you know, when it comes to personal, you know, information, when people want to know that kind of stuff and like get into your life, so like it worries me. So
definitely.
Yeah. So I was a little worried, but it was nothing like the time when it first happened. And this was more like when I first started the industry. I happened to be hanging out with like a family member, and I was in the Mall of America. This happened when I was in Minnesota, and I just was shopping, you know, and these two boys come up to me and they're like, so back in the day I was Jillian Brooks, and they were like, oh my God, you're Jillian Janson. I knew you since you were Jillian Brooks. And I was like, as my cousin was like standing right there, I was like, oh my God. And then my mom's boyfriend's daughter was like right there too. And I was like, I'm like, my family doesn't, like my mom knows, but like my whole family, like they don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh my God. So like they asked for a picture with me. I'm like, sure. So my cousin like takes, you know, my mom's boyfriend's daughter like off to the side. I'm just like, you guys like go over here for a little bit. Like, I'll be right back. And it was just like the funniest thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I was recognized. It was kind of like I felt embarrassed, but I was like also at the same time I felt like a little celebrity. Like I felt like, you know, star. I was like, oh yay, people know about me. And I was like, oh shoot, people know about me. So that's, you know, kind of when I was like, oh, I gotta be careful. And yeah, but it's interesting. It's fun.
You're right. Like there's that stigma. So
that stigma of like, oh my God, it's awesome, but oh my God, like you probably know where I live now, or you probably know, you know, like, but no, I'm pretty good when it comes to that kind of stuff. You know, I like to keep a good head on my shoulders when it comes to keeping my information private and all that. So, but yeah, that has, in a sense, like I'm kind of getting off topic. Like, I love when people recognize me. I love it. But just don't be creepy about it.
Yeah. Just be nice and tell me up front. Yeah.
Tell me up front that you know who I am. Don't have me feeling like, yeah. like I felt before.
Yeah. No, that was great. Those are some good stories. And since one last question, since we talk sequels here, are there any movie sequels that you enjoy watching?
I do actually. I'm into a lot of the Marvel movies.
Okay.
Yeah, I love all of them, honestly. I got into Star Wars, pretty much anything you can imagine. I love when they have, you know, more stories to them, or when you tell the stories from the beginning, you know, like, another favorite series of mine is like Resident Evil.
Oh, those are good.
Really good. I love that. I watched the first 3, and then it'd been so long since I'd watched them, I didn't realize it was like 4 or 5 more.
Yeah, I think there's even maybe just 5, like, maybe 6. I don't know.
Yeah, there's like 6 or 7 total. Yeah. So no, I love watching movies. I watch them all the time. You know, when I get the time off, that is.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And then one day, because you're in the role, obviously, like Evil Bong, like you said, it was like crazy, and you were just like, "Hey, I'm down for whatever." But in the other role, that was a pretty good role. It was a good scene, and
Yeah,
you going
I'm
back and forth
down
with
for
that
it.
guy. Yeah, you going back and forth with that guy Manny. Like there was good dialogue, and you like felt the emotion of the scene. Not like I'm any kind of like director or anything, but no, that was a really cool scene. So maybe in the
It's
future
funny
you'll
because
see yourself on the big screen.
yeah, it's funny because I felt that way when we had just gone to premiere it, and I saw my name. No, oh, it wasn't after. So after the premiere, it came out on Amazon Prime, and that's when it like kicked in because I saw the credits. And I rolled through and I saw my name and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And I was like, honestly, like I would go through anything again to like, you can do anything. You can hang me upside down and, like whatever. I am so down. I love it. I'm like, they can have a sequel to the Elvis, puppet. They can have a sequel to Cynthia. Like I'm so for it.
Yeah. Just don't use corn syrup this time. Try to use something else so you don't stick to the floor.
Right. Or I'll just bring, boxes of Barbasol beforehand so I know, or like a handheld little like, squirt gun or shower sprayer or something to kind of like take myself bath.
That's awesome.
But no, it was great. I loved every minute of it. It's so incredible just being involved in the whole production and and I kind of got a little envious a little bit, even though I had such a big part, I was in for, at least 10 minutes or so of a scene. Like I was like, I still was like, I wish I was like the lead.
Yeah.
It'd be so cool to one day like be the lead and to have, that it just, and I was like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to push for it, whatever it takes, and I inspired to be, like Sasha Grey and all that, where we, cross over from the adult industry into mainstream and make it, less of a stigma, for sex, because you look at Netflix now and you're seeing titty and like practically you're seeing the whole thing. Like, it's like, why not at this point just, keep doing it and just do it a little more. And, because it's not like the world, doesn't know sex. Like,
I know. They just pretend not to know.
Like if it wasn't for me, like watching stuff like that when I was that age, I wouldn't be in this industry. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have been curious and watched, stuff online and, learn stuff, like I wouldn't be where I am. So it just sucks that, people are, in that sense where like, oh, kids can't handle this, kids can't handle that. So we got to censor everything, including social medias now. Like I've lost my Instagram. I've lost my Snapchat. I've lost, I'm almost certain I'm going to lose my Twitter if I don't, follow their guidelines, their new guidelines. I just tweeted out that they're kind of cracking down on everyone with, what we post now. So we've got to be careful.
Yeah.
And it's like, but why? It's like, you're just trying to make people feel like what they're doing in their life is not okay. And it is okay. Like, why do you think it's, like the stuff with our sexuality, with people being bisexual and gay, like that's so okay, and it's like people are making it seem like it's not okay with certain things that we watch. And it's like, stop. So that being said, if people want to follow me, the only place you really can is Twitter, XO Jillian Janson. And the best way to connect with me is textjillian.com. I'm always by my phone, getting naughty or just getting to know you, having fun. But yeah, I was locked out of my premium Snapchat. I no longer have one, unfortunately.
Well, awesome.
But I have OnlyFans.
I'll put all those links in the bio too. And it was really fun talking to you. Thanks so much for taking the time, and I wish you the best in getting that main role, that lead actress.
Yeah,
You want.
me too. So everyone was hearing out there how much I love to be covered in guts and blood and cum and all that. I'm down.
Well, thanks so much. Have a great night, Jillian.
Thank you. You too.
So this is John and Coleman from Funny to Informing. So tell everybody like a little bit of like, what are you guys about?
Well, what we do primarily is we try to find the joke first, like pretty much to represent the name. We find the joke first, and then we share personal stories, and we find some bits of news to share with the people, and we try to interact with our listeners as much as possible. But Coleman here is the funny man, and I'm here to try to inform the world, or at least give them perspective on things that we need to open our eyes to and whatever else.
Yeah, we do a lot of local flair and stuff too, like things going on in the city. We're kind of out and about guys. We like to, try to check things out as much as possible. So
yeah, because we're in the Southeast, you're in the Northeast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's different cultures. It's definitely a culture shock.
Beautiful weather down here, guys. I'm in shorts and flip flops. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no. Florida's nice, man. Just I lived out in Oregon, but grew up in Jersey and just don't want to leave. Too close to New York City. I love it out here. But so how'd you come up with the whole concept and like working together?
I had the show already. And I mean, I guess the best way to represent it in terms of like being a sequel, I had done the show for about a year and a half by myself. And I was primarily just interviewing people and trying to get like the culture of Orlando, because in Orlando there's a lot of amazing people to hear, like to meet and talk to, and all the things and opportunities. But so I was doing it by myself for a while. But where the show really kicked into high gear was when me and Coleman here are both fans of a local radio station, and we went to a meetup. We got along really well, and then we went on another podcast as separate guests for different reasons. And then once we linked up, man, that was it.
Yeah, we had chemistry, and I did a show just like as an interviewee, and it worked out. And it was actually credit to his girlfriend, I think. John's girlfriend was like, "You should ask Coleman to be on the show."
Yeah,
and I was looking to get back into podcasting after being off of a show for a couple of years myself, and everything worked out. And it was an opportunity for me, and I could bring a little bit of what I knew to help out John. And we've just grown it like crazy in the last 2 years we've been together.
That's awesome. And Coleman, it's got to make you feel good that he said he was doing it by himself. And then once you joined, it got kicked into high gear. So that's very nice to say that.
Yeah, John always pats my back like that. He's good for that, man.
Well,
I love this guy, man. It's funny because, like I said on our show when we talked a little bit ago, I kind of gave a small background and said, John and I kind of joined forces just mostly to do podcasting, and have built a really tight friendship out of that. And that is definitely the truth.
But
for us.
I'm not going to sit here and lie either. So it's me primarily being honest. It's I don't really laugh too much when I'm at work or when I'm doing my daily things, but he was making me laugh more than anybody else, and very often kind of hurting my cheeks type of laughter. So I knew it was a no-brainer that's, something I wanted to be around a lot more.
Can you hear me blushing?
Yes, I can. So John, before you guys joined forces, you said you did a lot of local interviews. What was one that like stuck out to you early on when you were doing this by yourself?
When I was doing it by myself, there was another podcast. It goes by What's the Fuss. They had one of their members of their show actually kill themselves, unfortunately.
Oh my God.
And what stuck out to me is I wanted to talk to one of the other members who was like one of his best friends. So I had him on the show and interviewed him about that. And it was a really difficult interview because of the sensitivity of the subject.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, me and that gentleman, he goes by Rocky, Rocky and myself came out really, really close. And I think we bonded over the situation of, suicide in general, dealing with, we've all had to deal with that somewhat.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. No, I understand that. So what was now recently when you were talking before, you guys are starting to interview some people now too. What are some that you've done already that you're real excited about?
Well, we've
knocked out a couple really in the last couple months that are really kind of our standout shows. We noticed we actually share one of the interviews. You guys talked to Psycho Sid Udy, and so did we. Man, so you guys know that he was our first really big get, and he was a really fun guy to talk to.
Yeah, no, I love talking to him. He was like, so it's really cool. You got to think how much, it's not like you ever get in somebody's wallet, how much it's rude to ask that, but he was pretty big at one point. So he's probably making some good coin. WWF was doing good then, but it's so cool, man. He never, cause those guys are always down the road anyway. Like, why own a house? And he just went back to where he grew up, man. I thought that was really cool. And I don't know how you guys interviewed him, but when I talked to him, his cell phone wasn't working that good where he was at in his place. So he called me on the house line and it was buzzing so bad. Luckily, I found a tutorial to get the buzz out. So I was able to get the buzz out perfectly. But no, he was really cool. Were you guys big wrestling fans?
Yeah, I was during the character era. This is John.
John's a little younger than me. John's in his 20s. So like I'm almost 40. So I was back kind of in the Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior, that era, Sid's first era, I should say.
Yeah.
Back in the WWF days. And yeah, I was a big fan then, but I kind of grew out of it as I became an adult. But I definitely remembered his name and remembered a handful of stuff. I didn't have to do all that much research on him.
Yeah, the big guest we were kind of really proud of recently was we talked to recently known as Junkyard Joe from the El Camino and Breaking Bad series. With that movie just coming out, we got to talk to Larry Hankin.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
It was fantastic.
He's been in everything, like consummate character actor.
Yeah, no, I had an opportunity to talk to him. I had it was like more of it went from an interview to like more of like just a conversation. And we talked for like 2 hours. And it was just like, it was not even about like his roles anymore. Really just like the idea of like where he, like, cause he was doing comedy. I don't know how, did you guys go into like his comedy background, how he came up?
Yeah. The committee. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, improv.
So it's so cool. Even before that, when he was doing stand up, he was opening up for Woody Allen, and it was the same time free speech. So no, he was really cool to talk to.
Yeah, and to get an idea of how like the itself and the business has changed over generations.
Yeah, 30 years.
Oh yeah, man. No, that's really cool to talk to people. Like the interviews that we've done, that I've had the chance to talk to people that have been doing it for like 40 years. It's like remarkable because I interviewed a guy that his name's Kevin Kilner. You know him if you saw him, but he's like he's on the board for like SAG. And there's like, I forget the exact number, but it's like an obscene amount of actors that are part of SAG. But the number of actors that actually like live off of being actors, it's like a ridiculously small number. Like,
yeah, Larry Hankin gave us a stat on that. And and then we actually talked to another guy recently and we brought up that stat and I tried to recall it and I was actually too high. I said it was like 3% of actors that like what they call working actors. And he corrected me. I was like, no, it's actually like more close to 2. And I was like, wow, well, way to shoot down my hopes and dreams of being an actor.
Yeah. But the number's like so small.
Such a slim
it's
margin.
Like crazy. Yeah. Sweet, man. So what are some things when people tune into your show? What would you say that when they're done, obviously Coleman being funny, John informing, but what would you say after the hour and a half that you want, like people that are going to go check out a new episode? What would you want them to leave feeling?
That the boring time went by faster.
Yeah, we helped them pass some time and hopefully they laughed throughout and learned a thing or two. Or at least enhance knowledge on a fact maybe they already knew. We'll try to maybe dig a little deeper on some things. Like, because some of these stories I'll have heard in the news, but we won't have deep backgrounds on them. So we'll try to research as much as we can and get as much as we can. Because then as we recall the stories to each other, we have a segment we call Did You Hear? And that's just kind of like fast facts we're throwing back and forth, kind of topical stuff from the news recently. And some of them I've heard, on the local news or on national news, but it's real vague. So as we're recalling the facts, John will ask me or I'll ask John. Like tonight we had one about a driver in the UK found with 39 dead bodies in the back of his truck, a truck driver.
I saw that. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So, but that's all I saw was the headline. So I'm like, well, where's this from? What's the deal with the guy? And then we're speculating on where they might have come from. And I'm making probably jokes I shouldn't have made about Chinese people and things like that. Just stupidity kind of intermingled with facts and reality.
Well, in Florida, you have a lot of local stories that you could probably do for days upon days.
Yeah, if everybody didn't have a Florida Man segment already, we would be all over that.
Yeah,
but that's fine.
Right.
We just don't call it Florida Man. We just all know. You know, this is Disney area. So there you go. This happened.
The problems Florida has is so saturated with just different issues.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, thanks for taking the time. What is, if you want to draw, I'll put all the links into the episode notes, like where people can find you. But what are like your social media? Like, where can people find you?
Okay, social media wise, it's Facebook or Instagram.com/funny2informing, all one word. And then funny2informing@gmail.com is how you get a hold of us primarily. And we're available on, everything.
Yeah, pretty much all the social media platforms, all the podcast outlets. And then we do our live show that you guys were just a part of every Thursday at 7 p.m. twitch.tv/amplified network. That's the network we run through. And Funny to Informing is the name of the show.
Yeah, I would just Google search it.
Just Google it. Just do that. Bing it. Just
That's
use
it.
Bing.
That's it.
But sweet, man. Well, guys, thanks so much for taking the time, and we'll keep in touch.